What's going on, everybody? C4 here, and welcome to another Rewind, where we're going to be taking a look back at the 2016 mock draft that I published on the channel. Again, I would have the face cam, me just reacting to the videos, but I decided to do all 32 teams individually, so there's 32 videos for every single draft pick, and that's just way too hard for me to, pop open each individual one. So I will just post the thumbnails of some of the notable picks and talk about where we went wrong, where we went right. Maybe if we did a redraft scenario, fans of certain teams would rather the prospects I picked than where they've left. I don't know, when you really do a reaction video to something that's about the draft, a lot of it is in hindsight. So without further ado, let's discuss the 2016 mock draft. So the first two picks, when I did my first official mock draft, the Eagles have yet to trade up, so no one really knew that the Philadelphia Eagles were going to get that number 2 spot from the Cleveland Browns. But, here's a quick little thumbnail from a video that I titled basically talking about where the Rams and the Eagles would go with their draft picks. And I was really, it's definitely a video I might need to react to someday. I was actually upset that we traded up to eventually get Carson Wentz. I basically was kind of hoping, like, all right, maybe this trade's for Wentz. Yeah, it's a gamble. I never hated Wentz. I just thought I was like, maybe Jalen Ramsey. Jalen Ramsey was my favorite prospect in this year's draft class. Now looking back with what we have in Carson Wentz, a potential MVP candidate, you're probably happy with Carson Wentz. I love Carson Wentz. He's probably one of my favorite players in the NFL already, obviously, for most Eagle fans. But I literally just thought, I was like, man, there's so much going against this guy, being he didn't play a whole lot. He's from Division II or whatever. Jalen Ramsey. Let's just get, Eagles have been horrendous in the secondary. Jalen Ramsey gonna be the pick. But ultimately, at the end of this video, I said, all right, the Rams are gonna be getting Jared Goff at number 1, and they actually did get Jared Goff. And the Philadelphia Eagles, clearly they made this move to trade up and get Carson Wentz, which they did. So moving on to the third pick for the Chargers. And I was right again. I was 3 for 3. I said they would get Joey Bosa, even though he wasn't necessarily a scheme fit. The Chargers ran a 3-4, and Bosa pretty much ticked off all the boxes of a 4-3 defensive end. Probably would be an undersized 3-4, but ideally you'd get the most value out of him if you're a 4-3 base. And they went and got him in Joey Bosa. I'm pretty sure he was Defensive Rookie of the Year. Very, very good. Very, very terrifying. I still have nightmares from Madden 17, Joey Bosa. So all is well there with the Chargers. Looking at number 4 was the Dallas Cowboys, and I mocked to them Myles Jack. They eventually went with Ezekiel Elliott. Myles Jack basically at the combine had, his injury or whatever, and a bunch of teams passed on him. He ended up going to the second round. Now he's a member of the Jacksonville Jaguars, and is looking every bit the part of a first-round talent linebacker. But let's be honest, Zeke got robbed of winning Offensive Rookie of the Year. They went to Dak Prescott. Now we've seen without Zeke in this 2017 season for the Dallas Cowboys that Zeke was really the most valuable player on the Cowboys, not Dak. Cowboy fans are happy. I mean, 4 is kind of full pop drafting a running back. Then again, a year later in the 2017 draft, the Jags did it with Leonard Fournette. But I really do think that there's usually one running back in a draft class that's worth that high value pick. Coming up to 2018, it's very much Saquon Barkley. But I think we're reflecting back on the Dallas Cowboys. Most Cowboy fans, 99% of them would rather Ezekiel. I think only 1% would be those, like, the people that are just upset that he, the domestic violence and stuff, or would rather Ezekiel Elliott over Myles Jack. Moving on to pick number 5, the Jacksonville Jaguars. I had them going with Jalen Ramsey. They'd be laughing at this point, and now they have Jalen Ramsey. So I was right, man. Getting 4 of your first 5 picks to a mock draft, you feel pretty damn good about yourself. And Jalen Ramsey, like I said before, man, when the Philadelphia Eagles traded up, I kind of hoped it was going after Jalen Ramsey at that time. And Jalen Ramsey, I don't know if it's a hot take. Jalen Ramsey is as good at the cornerback spot as Carson Wentz has been at the quarterback. Jalen Ramsey is all-pro. He's shutdown corner. He has the versatility to play everywhere in the secondary. I think really when you look at this, the Chargers Cowboys should be upset. I think if you have Joey Bosa, Zeke Elliott, Jalen Ramsey, you should be taking Jalen Ramsey out of all those guys. So I guess they hypothetically missed on that. But Jags, man, that's the reason why the Jags are a game away. Well, as I'm recording this, they just beat the Buffalo Bills today in the wildcard round. So the Jags right now, they have a Super Bowl winning caliber type of defense, and a big part of that is Jalen Ramsey. Going to pick number 6, the Baltimore Ravens. I mocked them Ronnie Stanley, and they got Ronnie Stanley. This is probably one of my best mock drafts that I've ever done in terms of getting a pick right. Ronnie Stanley, I figured it was really up between Stanley and Tunsil. for guys that could play left tackle. Jack Conklin was regarded as the best right tackle. When you look at left tackles, I just went with Ronnie Stanley because I thought he was a safer pick. Not so much because Tunsil, because we didn't find out about the off-field stuff with Tunsil with the marijuana and smoking out of a goddamn gas mask till during the draft. So when I did this mock, I just always thought Ronnie Stanley was a little bit more well-rounded. Plus, Tunsil did have some out the field. He had like altercations with his father or something crazy like that at Ole Miss. So I think Ronnie Stanley's the pick that the Ravens would make. Fits the Ravens. Ronnie Stanley's been a very good tackle for the Baltimore Ravens, so this was a good pick. For the 7th pick was the 49ers. I predicted Laremy Tunsil. I think they needed to get another tackle there with Joe Staley aging, and they could probably slide Tunsil to guard or right tackle while Staley stayed at the left tackle spot, improve that offensive line. They ended up getting DeForest Buckner because Chip Kelly, Oregon, ducked by us. But hey, best one at time, it worked out. For the Philadelphia Eagles, never really worked out. You know, Josh Huff, we got Taylor Hart, players like that. The one time he does for the Niners, of course, couldn't do it for the Eagles. Buckner's been debatable. I think there's a lot of people that said after Jimmy Garoppolo, Buckner's probably the best player on the San Francisco 49ers from the 2017 season. Maybe some love to Carlos Hyde or Marquise Goodwin, but Buckner has been every bit. He's a pro football focused darling, so Niners are very happy with that pick. You'd take Buckner over Tunsil. Pick number 8, we had the Tennessee Titans, who I mocked Ezekiel Elliott, and they ended up with Jack Conklin. Well, Conklin was a first-team All-Pro as a rookie versus Ezekiel Elliott, who's, you know, very, very dominant at the running back spot. I think this is kind of a toss-up. That'd be an interesting one. If there's any Titan fans watching this, would you rather Ezekiel Elliott or Jack Conklin at this given time? I think when you look at how that rest of that draft played out, I think having Jack Conklin and then a guy with upside like Derrick Henry would be better than having Ezekiel Elliott and then whoever at tackle, you know what I'm saying? But that's definitely interesting. Let me know what you think about that. For pick number 9 for the Chicago Bears, I had them going with Jalen Smith, the linebacker from Notre Dame. They ended up going with Leonard Floyd from Georgia. Again, I mean, Jalen Smith at that time, I really believed him. When he was healthy at Notre Dame, he was the best linebacking prospect in the draft, bar none. But then, you know, we've now seen in hindsight how he's played with the Dallas Cowboys. Not so hot anymore, which is really, really unfortunate. Even though, you know, I'm glad that he's not really doing well for the Cowboys, because that would be annoying to have Sean Lee, the great Sean Lee. I could stop 9/11 Sean Lee and Jalen Smith. But I think when you're the Bears fan, I mean, Leonard Floyd has been very, very good. He's had a couple rough injuries, but when he's in there healthy, he is a really, really underrated edge rusher. So I think Bears fans are happy with that Leonard Floyd pick. Then round at the top 10, the New York Giants. I mocked them Shaq Lawson, the defensive end from Clemson. They ended up going with Eli Apple from Ohio State. That was the biggest reach, I think, from the first round. They got Eli Apple. I had Eli Apple as a fringe first round guy. I think I have him mocked way later on in the draft. Yeah. He's a head case, you know. Everyone, there's the locker room drama that's around Eli Apple. And when you look at Shaq Lawson, I mean, he hasn't really caught on as well as I would have thought with the Buffalo Bills. I thought he might have been, you know, the next Vic Beasley, the next guy that gets, you know, instant 10 double-digit sacks for them. You know, it's a little bit of a slow burn with Shaq Lawson, but I think eventually will catch on. I mean, for Giant fans, that might be a toss-up. You might want the upside of Shaq Lawson, because if they got Shaq Lawson, if he was in their plans, maybe they wouldn't have dumped so much cash at Olivier Vernon. They have other money to invest on their offensive line. Like, again, very, very hindsight. I guess we'll call this one a toss-up. Pick number 11, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I had them going with DeForest Buckner from Oregon. He was already off the board, obviously, to the Niners. They ended up drafting Vernon Hargreaves from Florida. Vernon Hargreaves, a big fan of Vernon Hargreaves. I guess he had a pretty decent rookie season, and then this year in 2017, I guess he wasn't as hot as he was in years past. I don't know if he's, you know, earned a bust tag. I don't really want to talk about it because it comes off incredibly biased. So, I mean, Bucs fans, let me know how you feel about Vernon Hargreaves. You think he'll bounce back and have a strong 2018 regular season? I don't know. Pick 12, the Saints. I mocked them Vernon Hargreaves. They ended up getting Sheldon Rankins from Louisville. Rankins had a season-ending injury, I think. It wasn't season-ending. He missed, like, most of the season. I honestly have no idea how well he's been doing, to be completely honest with you. His stats sheets don't really look anything spectacular. It doesn't look like he's getting a full load of minutes. So I guess, Saint fans, are you happy with Sheldon Rankins? Let me know. Going to pick number 13, the Miami Dolphins. I had them going with MacKenzie Alexander, the corner from Clemson, who ended up going, I think, in the second round or third round of the Minnesota Vikings, so I was way off on that. And they ended up going with Laremy Tunsil after the free fall because of the marijuana thing. And I think Tunsil is a very solid offensive lineman for the Miami Dolphins. Versatile, can play tackle and or guard. So I think they're much happier with that pick. Going to pick 14, the Raiders. I had them going with Reggie Ragland, the linebacker from Alabama. They ended up going with Carl Joseph from West Virginia. It's kind of funny now. Like in 2016, the Raiders, they needed linebacker help. Now, flash forward to the 2018 draft, they still need linebacker help. Reggie Ragland actually got traded from the Bills to the Chiefs, where he's been kind of solid. But Carl Joseph, I was a big fan of Carl Joseph. I just didn't think he'd go this high because of the injury. Incredibly productive at West Virginia. Guy's a ball hawk. And I think looking forward, looking at John Gruden, how he's going to take over that Raiders defense, I definitely think Carl Joseph is in their long-term plans. They still think, you know, even though it's a new regime there, and sometimes regimes will give up on expensive draft picks, I think Carl Joseph he's going to see a lot of versatility in him. Going to pick number 15, the Cleveland Browns. I mocked them Jack Conklin, the tackle from Michigan State. They end up going with Corey Coleman, the wide receiver from Baylor. I think in this scenario, most Brown fans would take Jack Conklin, slide them in there at right tackle. And then if you take that really good Browns offensive line when healthy, you had Jack Conklin at right tackle. They might have top 5 offensive line in football with obviously Joe Thomas. You got Bitonio. Center is Treader from the Packers. Right guard is, I can't remember, the dude from the Bengals. That's pretty good. So they would have an insane offensive line. They end up getting Corey Coleman. I definitely think there's some upside in Corey Coleman, but he just has been unable to stay healthy. But I think most Brown fans would take Conklin over Coleman in that scenario. Pick 16, the Detroit Lions. I mocked them Taylor Decker. They actually got Taylor Decker. That was pretty easy. They needed a tackle, and Decker has been really solid when healthy for the Lions. Pick 17, the Atlanta Falcons. I said they're going with Darren Lee, the linebacker from Ohio State. They end up going with my boy Keanu Neal from Florida. Definitely made the wrong pick there in terms of hindsight. I definitely didn't think Keanu Neal was going that high. I had him as a second-round stud. I thought he was going to be an incredible playmaker. Just didn't think he was going to go in the first round. I should have known Dan Quinn, former Florida Gator defense coordinator, would realize that talent. And Keanu Neal is debatably, I'd say, top 10 safety in the NFL right now, and he has so much more upside. Once he develops a little bit more of a coverage game, he's a beast, man. Absolute beast, one of my favorite players in the NFL. You'd much rather Keanu Neal over Darren Lee. Pick 18 for the Colts. I'd mocked to them Leonard Floyd, the linebacker from Georgia. He already went way beyond this, and they ended up getting Ryan Kelly from Alabama. I think I had Ryan Kelly mocked to the Colts in the second round. Probably would have been on Twitter or something like that, because obviously the Colts really needed a center. I just didn't think they'd take a center in the first round. And Ryan Kelly, from all accounts, seems like a key piece moving forward for that Colts offensive line. Pick 19, the Buffalo Bills. I think we'll go with Shawn Robinson, the defensive tackle from Alabama, and they end up going with Shaq Lawson from Clemson. Meh, both these guys are still trying to carve out their roles in the NFL. I think Robinson's on the Lions. Moving on to pick 20, the Jets. I mocked them Paxton Lynch, the quarterback from Memphis, and they end up going with Darren Lee, the linebacker from Ohio State. Kind of a toss-up. I think Paxton Lynch, just unfortunate events that he hasn't been able to try to really have a tryout to be the starting quarterback for the Denver Broncos. And then when you look at Darren Lee on the Jets, I would say, he's been meh, he's been solid, upside. Hopefully, he continues to develop, but he's not quite living up to the hype of a first-round pick. So I don't really know, Jeff fans. Who would you take, Darren Lee or Paxton Lynch? Going to pick number 21, the Houston Texans. I mocked them Laquan Treadwell from Ole Miss. They end up going with Will Fuller, the wide receiver from Notre Dame. I think they're happy with Will Fuller. Treadwell hasn't done much for the Minnesota Vikings, even though he was, kind of the undisputed top wide receiver, though his 40 time wasn't particularly impressive. Versus Will Fuller, who was a guy that had some upside and ran the fastest 40 out of all the wide receivers. That was a bad year for wide receiver 40 times. I think definitely Texas fans are happy with Will Fuller. Will Fuller and DeAndre Hopkins with a healthy Deshaun Watson is pretty damn scary. Going to pick number 22, the Washington Redskins. I said they'd go Sheldon Rankins, defensive tackle from Louisville. They ended up going with Josh Doxson from TCU. Doxson, I definitely would have thought, especially with Terrell Paris just stinking it up this year, Doxson would have took that leap to show that he was the first round wide receiver. Still, jury's out there. Going to pick 23, the Minnesota Vikings. I said they go Corey Coleman from Baylor. He was already gone from the Browns. And they end up going with Laquan Treadwell. Again, kind of taking a backseat to Stephon Diggs and Adam Thielen. So not the best to pick in hindsight. Going to pick number 24, the Cincinnati Bengals. I said they'd go Robert Kimdichie, defensive lineman from Ole Miss. They end up going with Will Jackson, the corner from Houston. Kind of a toss-up there, I think. Both these guys are, very much like we talked about with the Bills pick, with Shawn Robinson and Shaq Lawson. Guys that, haven't sucked, but still hasn't really lived up to their potential yet. So still some upside. Pick 25, the Pittsburgh Steelers. I said they go with Eli Apple, the corner from Ohio State, and he was actually selected at the 10th pick from the Giants. And they get Artie Burns from Miami. Artie Burns has been a much better corner than Eli Apple, so they're happy with that one. Glad that I was wrong. Pick 26, the Denver Broncos. I said they go Cody Whitehair, the center, who's been very good for the Chicago Bears. They end up going with Paxton Lynch from the University of Memphis. Obviously, we all know what happened with Paxton Lynch. And Cody Whitehair has been a very good center for the Chicago Bears. I think most, even though Matt Paradis has been a serviceable center for the Denver Broncos, I think he's like a pro football focused darling 2 years ago. He probably would rather Cody Whitehair in that scenario. Pick 27 for the Green Bay Packers. I said they go Hunter Henry, the tight end from Arkansas. They end up going with Kenny Clark from UCLA. Kind of a toss-up. Kenny Clark didn't have the best rookie season, but here in 2017, really good bounce-back year. And then when you look at Hunter Henry, one of the better young tight ends in football, so kind of a toss-up there. Looking at the Packers still kind of having that hole, I guess you would say, at the it's a toss-up. They definitely could use Hunter Henry, but also they need help on the defensive front. So it's kind of a toss-up there. Pick 28 for the Kansas City Chiefs. I said they go Will Jackson, the corner from Houston. They end up going with no one because they traded it to the Niners so they could select Josh Garnett. Pick 29, the Arizona Cardinals. I said they go Noah Spence from, formerly of Ohio State. He got kicked off, went to some weird school. They end up going with Robert Kimdichie. You know, kind of a toss-up. Both those guys haven't really, it's too early to tell if they're going to pan out or not. Pick 30, the Carolina Panthers. I said they go with Emmanuel Ogbah, the defensive end from Oklahoma State. They end up going with Vernon Butler, defensive tackle. I think you probably would rather Ogbah in this scenario. Ogbah is one of those untapped potential guys on the Browns that probably has a lot of upside. I guess both these guys are all right, but I think when you look at the Panthers, you might take Ogbah here. I don't know. Panther fans, let me know. And then finish out the draft because the Patriots pick was forfeited. We had the Seattle Seahawks, who I mocked them getting Jaron Reed, the defensive tackle from Alabama. They ended up getting Jermaine Ifedi, the tackle from A&M. I don't think he's been that solid. They ended up actually getting Jaron Reed, I think, in the second round. So I kind of looked right and kind of looked smart on that one. But ultimately, you know, I can't really, you know, critique this one because they got the guy said they're going to get in the first round anyway, later round, so good value there, Mr. Snyder. So yeah, there is my 2016 mock draft recap. I definitely think I looked smarter, more like a smart ass than a dumb ass in a lot of these picks. Let me know what you can think in the comment section below. If you could redraft your team's 26 mock draft, what players would you select? Let me know in the comments there, and smash the like button if you enjoyed. If this is your first time stopping by, don't be afraid to hit that subscribe button, and until next time, it's C4 saying peace out.